Tonight's broadcast is brought to you by Soltis Tires, the tires that keep on going. It is 1902 in Fort Myer, Ohio, on a cold winter night, at a farmhouse. Jonathan, 61 years old, walks with a slight limp down a hallway that is lit by a gas lamp. He enters into the bedroom of his granddaughter Sarah and sits down on the bed. The bed makes a creaking noise as he sits. Sarah is under her blankets waiting for her grandpa to tuck her in. In her hands, she is holding an old picture of Jonathan and his two brothers from 1860.
Grandpa?
Yeah?
What happened to your brothers?
He looks at the picture for a bit before he speaks. Gosh, we were young back then.
When was this taken, Grandpa?
Taken, Sarah?
When was this taken, Grandpa?
Oh, this would have been around 1860, I think. Year before the war, when Andrew came home to visit.
Mom said you all fought in the war.
Yes. We all did. Your great Uncle Andrew died at the Battle of Gettysburg, you know. On the second day. Your other great Uncle David and I made it through the war. Jonathan looks at a scar on his left hand from a musket ball at the Battle of Antietam. Only minor scrapes. David died in a gunfight a couple years after the war. Mining town. A town in Montana. We now transition to 1868 to a town called Phillipsburg, Montana during midday. There is a dead body face down in the street, and the street is empty of townspeople. Enter scene. Jonathan, 27, is behind some wooden barrels under cover. Splinters of wood are flying around from bullet impacts into one of the barrels to Jonathan's right. Jonathan grabs a canvas bag and cuts a strip from it. He takes the strip and ties it around his bleeding right arm. At the blacksmith shop, David fires off a shot from behind a stone wall. He ducks just as a bullet hits the wall. Jonathan yells from the supply store. Why'd you kill Beck Randall, David?
You're my brother, John. I just couldn't let him kill you.
Well, I would have appreciated some of that brotherly love before he shot me in the arm. David has a grin on his face.
How's an arm doing, baby brother?
Jonathan raises above a barrel and fires off 2 shots. Good enough for me to still bring you in.
We'll see about that.
David fires off another round towards the supply store. The glass in one of the windows of the supply store breaks from David's shot. Jonathan reloads his gun as glass falls onto the porch. Never wanted it to come to this, David.
I won't be strung up in front of some crowd. I won't.
I can deliver you to Judge Grisham. He's not a hanging judge.
Andersonville was enough prison for me, John.
You're not leaving me much choice, David. Jonathan tightens his bandage and loads more rounds into his gun. David loads more rounds into his gun also.
You're gonna have to kill me, brother. Or you could just let me go.
You know I can't do that.
I know.
David fires off 3 rounds, hitting the same barrel with all of them.
Then we're about to find out who's Cade or who's Abel, baby brother.
I'll be Cain if I have to be, but Mom, Dad, and Rose would like to see you again, big brother.
I'm surprised Dad didn't come with you to bring the wrath of God down upon me himself.
David says mockingly. Dad's not the same since Andrew died, you know.
I wouldn't know. Ain't been home in 3 years.
I was home a couple months back. Dad gave me a hug when I got there. David is shoulder up to the wall. He has a surprised look on his face.
You say he gave you a hug?
As hard as it is to believe, he did. Hadn't hugged him in probably 17 years.
Dad's grown soft at his old age.
Our sister Rose, I think, had some part in that. David has a handful of dirt in his left hand and is moving it around in his hand.
How's our sister doing?
You remember the Millers?
Think I do.
She's engaged to their son, Henry.
Didn't they play together as kids?
Yeah. Seems like they were together all the time.
Hey, is that bridge we built still there?
No, it's not. Mom said the river flooded last year and took it away. David has a disappointed look on his face as he throws dirt to the wind.
That's a shame. We really put some time into that bridge.
Yeah. Hey, you remember catching salamanders down at the creek?
Yep. Packed Mom's jars full of them.
Mom would get red hot mad when she found out. David and Jonathan both have a good laugh. David stops laughing and gets a serious look on his face.
You ever think about how things could have been different, John?
You mean if Andrew didn't die? You didn't kill anyone?
Yeah. There were things I wanted to have. Things that ended the moment I killed that stagecoach driver.
There's a crashing sound. A cat is knocked over a bucket and darts out of the blacksmith shop. David turns quickly to the sound with his gun raised.
Dang
He
cat.
smiles after he sees it is just a cat. Jonathan holds his arm and grimaces. Like finding a nice gal and having a family?
Yeah, that's a foolish notion now. I would have liked to have a son, though, to leave behind. You got anyone, John?
I might. Gal in Atlanta. She probably has found her a man by now.
You should go to her when this is all over.
Atlanta's a long way from here, brother. And I'm the only marshal around these parts.
Don't throw away something you still have a chance to have, John.
David fires off another shot that hits a barrel 2 barrels away from Jonathan. Jonathan sits against the barrel and tightens the canvas on his right arm. You know, I looked up to you, David. I never wanted it to come to this. I never wanted it to be me that had to bring you in.
I never was much for doing what was expected of me. No fun in that way, John.
David fires off 3 shots at the supply store. Jonathan returns fire, managing to hit David in his left shoulder. David slumps down with his back to the stone wall of the blacksmith shop. He is holding his bleeding shoulder. Now we on equal footing.
One or both of us is gonna have to die before this is done.
Doesn't have to be, David.
It's too late. Turn back from the paths we've taken, John.
David sits with his back on the stone wall. He is quiet and staring at the ground. Jonathan sits with his back to a barrel, looking through one of the windows of the supply store. David has moved to face towards the supply store.
I think it's time to end this, John.
All right. I suppose this has gone on long enough. Both men ready themselves for a duel. David moves out from behind the blacksmith shop stone wall and walks into the street towards the supply store. Jonathan gets up and moves past the barrels into the street. As he steps into the street, a bullet hits him in the left leg. As he stumbles, he raises his gun and shoots David in the chest close to the heart. David falls down. Jonathan gets up off the ground and limps to David, with his gun still on his brother. David is still alive, but barely. Jonathan stares down at his brother.
I didn't want to have to do this.
Take me home, John. Take me home.
Jonathan takes a deep breath of air and kneels next to David.
I will, brother. I'll get you a nice tombstone, too.
David dies and Jonathan closes his eyelids with his fingers.
Dang it, David. I didn't want to do this. I'm not going to tell Mom and Dad. I'm not going to tell Mom and Dad.
We are now back to the farmhouse bedroom in 1902 during a cold winter night. Jonathan is lost in thought.
Grandpa?
Huh? Oh. David was killed by a marshal in 1868.
Why did the marshal have to kill him?
Time for bed now. I'll tell you more of my brothers tomorrow.
Night, Grandpa.
Good night, Sarah.
Jonathan looks at the photo and then puts it back on the nightstand. Jonathan then blows out the lamp. This concludes this radio broadcast of The Paths We Take. Thank you for joining us, and have a good night. One brother is the law, and one brother is an outlaw. They ain't gonna back down, they're gonna fight to the very end. It's the path we take that I've gotta say. I don't wanna have to kill him, he's my brother, but it's the path we take. Oh, it's the paths we take. It's the paths we take that has led us in.